friends, welcome to my channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Katelyn and I like to film eyeshadow palette ranking and review videos, as well as the occasional other content sprinkled in. So if you like indie makeup, if you like eyeshadow palettes, if you like me, I highly recommend that you hit that subscribe button because I post 2 videos every single week. And for those of you that are not new here, my face is happy that you are seeing it again. And I'm out of breath. Welcome. Today we are going to be ranking all of the eyeshadow palettes I used in the month of October. If you are new to my channel, let me tell you a little something about my rankings. I rank every eyeshadow palette I used. And when I say that, I mean that. And I mean every single eyeshadow palette that I use. So even if it's old, even if it's new, even if it's sort of new, but not new in the beauty YouTube space, I rank it. And I like to do it this way for a couple of reasons. One, because I think it's helpful to see, like I could use a palette, do a couple looks with it, and think, oh my gosh, this is amazing, and never ever reach for it again. So if you watch these videos month over month, you're like, I haven't seen you use that palette in a while. One, that's partially because I have too much makeup, but 2, sometimes it's because I'm like, yeah, I didn't really want to use that palette again. So so that's what I like to do. I also don't do like a countdown ranking. I do a tiered ranking because I feel like that's like maybe a little bit more accurate to my feelings, because I feel like when you do the countdown ranking, like my opinion day to day can totally change. To be honest, within the tiered ranking, my opinion day to day can also change, but for the most part, it's an easier way for me to be like, this group of palettes I feel somewhat similarly about, and there you go. So that being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. So I have a disclaimer for this video, this particular ranking video. I actually counted for once, 22 eyeshadow palettes to rank. 12 of those palettes were palettes that I tried for the first time this month. There were only like 2 palettes that I used more than one time. A lot of these palettes are new to me and I have only had time to use them once. So that being said, take everything that I'm about to say with a grain of salt. Like, these are truly first impressions. I usually like to have these ranking videos done because typically I've used something like at least once or twice since I filmed my first impressions video, and then you can kind of get a better feel for how I feel about the palette. But I got so many of these palettes towards the end of the month. Like I just cranked out like one look at it with each of them, just to move through stuff. So yeah. There you go. I only have one set of eyes, so I can't try all of these things as many times. And I really do like to wear the looks all day and see how shadows perform. I do tend to have creasing on my lids, so I do feel like it's helpful to be able to say, yeah, this baby creased, you know? I will be honest, like this look I just did, I literally put this on to film this video and then I'll take it off. So I'm not going to test out the creasing in this particular look. Like, I'm not perfect, but I do try to do that. That's my goal. So that's why I'm not somebody who can like crank out like multiple looks in a day. 1, I have really sensitive eyes, and 2, that just sounds exhausting. So anywho, I have really fun news for today's video. Typically, I have 4 categories. I have a category of palettes that I feel meh about. Like I'm like, if somebody came in and took these palettes, I might not even notice they're gone. Like, and I would not care that they left my home. Then I have my palettes that I like. I like them. I think they're good. Then I have my palettes that I like really like. Like, I really enjoy them. I like them a lot. And then the last category is palettes that are like holy grail favorites. I would definitely buy these if I lost them, and I would go out and get them again because I cannot live without them. So that being said, there are no palettes in the bottom category. I don't have any palettes today that I go, could take or leave that palette and not really care. I don't have that. So I'm excited about that because normally I have some, but I feel like I've done a good job decluttering what doesn't speak to me as much in my collection. I make no promises on that because I also 54% of what we're using today was new. So I haven't had enough time to hate it yet, but I just thought I was proud of myself. That's all. So we will be starting. So today we only have 3 categories. Typically there's 4. Today we just have 3. So that being said, I like every eyeshadow palette I'm about to talk to you about. There's not a single one that I dislike. So you're not about to hear any negative reviews. That's not because I'm somebody who doesn't like want to be honest and give negative reviews. Like there's a reason I have that 4th category normally, because I'm like, you know, like this palette could be gone and I would not care. But I don't have that. So let's just get started. Okay, so like I said, there's not a single palette today that I didn't like, or, you know, there might be like little tiny nitpicky quality issues, and I'll get into those for each palette, but there's honestly nothing that I'm like, don't waste your money on this. Like I really like, and I'm happy that I have all of these palettes. So yeah, there we go. I feel bad about this first one because it's at the bottom, but I did like it. But the first one that we have is the Mirage palette from Alter Ego. This was gifted to me in PR. They didn't ask me to post or anything. I just decided to do like a comparison video with the Huda Beauty Empowered palette because I do have that palette. That's, I think, why this palette is where it is because like I used it and I was like, yeah, it's nice. I even posted the look on my Instagram. Every comment is like, it literally looks just like, because I posted where I had it on one eye and the Huda Beauty palette on the other. Everybody was like, they look the exact same. Like they look the exact same. So for the price, you're getting pretty similar quality to Huda Beauty. I don't think that video will be up yet. I will be putting it up soon. I know you guys like my ranking, so I'm going to prioritize editing and putting this one up. But you'll see that video soon, and I'll talk through like the nuances of the differences between the two. But I think I have this one lower because it's like, yeah, it's new. I used it one time, but it didn't get my creative juices flowing. I didn't feel like, oh, I have to dip back into this. I had so much fun with it because I already have this. So that's why I wanted to be clear, like, there is nothing wrong with this palette. I think it's awesome. I do have a code with Alter Ego. I will put it on the screen because I don't know it off the top of my head. But it is, I don't know if it's an affiliate code or not. If it says affiliate code and then the code, it's affiliated, which means I receive a small commission. If it doesn't say affiliate, it's just a code. I think it is an affiliate code, and I don't know if it saves money. The details are on the screen. You're already seeing them as I'm talking. But anyways, I like the concept of Alter Ego. I get into it in the video, so I don't want to get into it now. Keep an eye out for that video. I also like the packaging. I think the theming on this is fun. I like the packaging actually better. Spoiler from that video. I like this packaging better because like the eyes on the other one I think is creepy. So that being said, like this palette, I think because I already have that color story, I've already played with that Huda Beauty palette and that specific color story multiple times. It just didn't get me as excited as the other things. So this palette was new to me. So this is our first one of the 12 new palettes. This was new to me for the month. I can't remember if it launched in October. I feel like it launched like August, September, but I just got it. So there we go. Next up is the Halloween Town palette from Melt Cosmetics. I like this palette. I do. I think this is fun. I really like the look I did. I've used it one time. I enjoyed the look I did. There's nothing particularly special about these shimmers, so I didn't feel comfortable putting it higher compared to the palettes that it's going up against that do have special shimmers. I just felt like this was nice. I enjoyed it. I liked the color story. I like the theming of it. I like the shape. I'm a Melt stan. Like, checks all the boxes, but it just doesn't have quite that special shimmery thing. But for me, I don't hate that because I occasionally don't want like super sparkle, shifty, special shimmers. Sometimes I just want a normal shimmer. And I do feel like this serves that purpose. That was also new for the month. So there you go. Next palette is not new for the month. So this is the Glaminatrix Sugar and Spice palette. I was really wanting that rich romantic palette, and I was like, you don't even like use this palette or feel like too fondly about this palette. So try it again before you like commit to another palette. I skipped the rich romantic mainly because I don't have any money anymore. I blew it all on all these other eyeshadow palettes. But anywho, this is the Sugar and Spice palette. I like it. I don't love it. I don't know if there's something like about this color story that like me and this palette just like we're not on the same page. We're not speaking the same language, and we're having a bit of a struggle. So I think I want to go through and like watch other people's videos with looks that they did and try and recreate them, but this just like isn't quite hitting for me. But so let me just backtrack for a second. The Halloween Town palette and the Mirage palette, I like those color stories more. The Mirage palette's neutral, so that's kind of hard. But this one, I like this color story more, but these shimmers, I cannot deny that they are super sparkly, super wet, foiled, gorgeous looking. So I had to give this that spot, because even if I just combine these shimmers with other palettes, I think I will like it. It's just not my favorite. I just look at it and I go, like, did I need this? I don't know. So anyways, that's why that one's there. Next up is another not new palette. This is the BellaBeauteBar The Sun and the Sea palette. I do have a code with BellaBeauteBar. I'm just going to mention it now. If you hear or if you see other palettes, I will put the codes. For any palette that I have an affiliate code, I will put it on the screen. So going forward. So I'm not going to say it again. But this is the Sun and the Sea palette. Again, special shimmers, super gorgeous. I just feel so like irked that these four matte shades are so similar. So then I just don't feel inclined to reach for this palette as much. It is really pretty. Like the shimmers are really pretty. I just feel like we could have gotten a little bit more variety in like those four browns and then the two blues. And this would have been like bang, knock it out of the park. I typically don't like warmer looks, but I love these multichromes with like one of these shades in the crease and one of the multichromes. Super easy, super stunning look. So I don't want to make it sound like I don't like this palette. I do, but I have to be nitpicky because I like literally every palette we're talking about today. Next up is going to surprise some of you. It is, because I think I had this palette in a meh category before, but I've learned things. I've done things differently, and I feel differently. This is another not new palette. This is the Viseart Coyish Étendue. This palette is an all shimmer palette from Viseart. Look, I know, you're looking at it and you're going, girl, you ranked those shimmers over these and the Glaminatrix and the BellaBeauteBar. Like, have you lost it? But listen, I like things that bring variety to my collection, and as much as I love a good sparkly special shimmer, I have it a lot of times over. I have a lot of really sparkly special shimmers. I was watching, okay, I've been intrigued. My interest has been piqued in the Isom Cosmetics palettes, specifically the Artistry, like the two shimmer palettes. I've seen a lot of people doing videos, specifically Alicia Archer. I think it's Alicia. Is it Alicia? Alicia? Shoot, I hope I didn't pronounce her name wrong. I'm pretty sure it's Alicia Archer, but I will link her channel down below, specifically her Isom Cosmetics video. But anyways, I was watching her, and she's using this like all shimmer palette, and she's talking about how like these shimmers don't have as much metallic sparkle to them, so like use them in the crease and like you can get like this satiny finish to it and blah blah blah, and they blend so much better and all these things. I love her videos, by the way, because she makes me think differently about makeup. But anywho, so she did that, and I'm like talking to myself in the mirror saying, you are not about to buy a $120 eyeshadow palette. You can get a 20% off coupon. I'm sitting on mine just in case I decide. But if you sign up for their mailing list. But anyways, I also signed up for their mailing list because I heard they have good sales. I'm getting sidetracked. But I was not going to let myself buy this super expensive palette when I have shimmers that could fall into that category that I could do something similar with. So I was like, let me see if I even like that type of look before I commit. So I pulled this bad boy out and I did an all shimmer look with the purples in this palette. I blended them into the crease. I deepened the outer corner. I put it on the lid, did the whole nine. That look, I can't describe it to you because it's like, it was so it was such a fun bright pop because it was like this like purple. This, first of all, this type of shade from Viseart, they nail it in every palette they put it in. Like, I have it 4 times over from them, but they do such a good job with it. So I liked that on the lid. It was soft. It didn't enhance texture. It wore well throughout the day, and it just looked like classy, even though it was like bright purple. I don't know how to make that make sense, but it just looked like elegant, and I really liked that. So because that is something different from what I have with everything else, I did feel the need to put it a little bit higher. But being totally honest, am I going to do looks like that every day? No. So that's why it's here. So I like it. But it's just, yeah, I still am drawn to the special shimmers, but I had to put it here. But I really like that. If you have palettes like this, or palettes where you're like, man, the shimmers are okay, they're not my favorite, try that. Try like if they're like a softer, more subtle shimmer, try it and just let me know if you like it. I just feel like there's something about that type of look that you're like, oh my gosh, who am I, an editorial makeup artist? Like, I look amazing. You know what I mean? So anyways, okay, next up we have another new palette, and that is the Unearthly Cosmetics Devour palette. Now, this palette and the next one could maybe go into the next highest category depending on the day. But here is the inside of this palette. I really love the shimmers over here. These light shimmers over here are so freaking pretty. All of the shimmers are pretty, but these 3 light ones over here, oh my gosh, I love them. They're gorgeous. This palette's like just a little too dark for me. Like, one of these two, like this matte, I don't know why I said one of these two. This is the darker one. This matte needed to be like just a tiny bit lighter for me to be able to make this work. But I do think this palette is really pretty. I have yet to do my all monochromatic green look. I'm sure I'm going to love this palette even more once I do it. I think the quality is nice. It's just like a little minor critique on the color story. I just want like one lighter matte. And if you're somebody who combines palettes, like, know that like a lot of these I'm just ranking as like truly if they were standalones. But if you like to combine palettes, like, any of these are good. They all work well. Like the Halloween Town palette, I could pair that with a palette that has special shimmers and be perfectly happy because I like those mattes. This palette, I could pair with a palette that has lighter shimmers. Cool. Or lighter mattes, I mean. Cool. All set. You know, like, you could... Anyways, I digress. Next up is another new palette. This is the Ensley Rain Harvest Moon palette. Who's surprised that I put this here? Because I really liked it in my review. And I do really like this palette. But it's dark as well. And for me, personally, humbly, I need more matte variety. And, like, I need it to go lighter, and then this is deep, so I need it to just have like 1 or 2 lighter mattes. My friend Annette from Annette's Makeup Corner and we collabed on our 3 look videos. So she said something really interesting in her video where she was like, I feel like I would rather have a couple of these shimmers go away and have a couple of lighter mattes thrown in, and have the palette, 1, be cheaper, but 2, have more variety to it. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think a couple of lighter mattes, maybe a lot of these shimmers are like a really dark base shimmer, but if you had like maybe 1 other shimmer that was lighter, because I feel like this one's pretty light, but if you could throw in like 1 other lighter shimmer, or even if not, if you just had the couple of lighter mattes, I just feel like that makes this palette a little bit more complete. But I really liked it. I do like it. I'm happy I have it. I think it's gorgeous. And I have definitely reached for it when I'm like, I just want 1 pretty shimmer on my lid with like another shade in the crease. And it's worked out perfectly for that. So I do enjoy this one. I put that I only used that palette twice, but I've actually used that palette 3 times this month. Okay, anyways, this was the palette I used the most this month because I did my 3 looks video. Everything else barely used. But yeah, so those are all the palettes for this category. Let's move on to the next category. So just a reminder, this next category is palettes that I really like, but they're like, I really, really like them. They're just not quite holy grail favorites. Like, that's the only differentiator on these. Like, I really like these palettes. They're just not my holy grail favorites. Okay, so a not new palette is the Nomad Cosmetics Okavango Safari palette. Here's the inside of this palette. This palette is so fun and so pretty. I think I pulled this like silver and then this like kind of gray green shade in to a look. And I really enjoyed this palette. I think it's gorgeous. It's another one where it's like, compared to like a lot of the like the BellaBeauteBar and the Ensley Rain and the Adept Cosmetics, like those shimmers are like incredible. And I'm not saying that these aren't good, but they're not shifty. They are just like a good, I don't know how, what am I trying to say? Like they're like a, and I know some people, let me correct myself too, because I know a lot of people got hard pan with it. I still don't have hard pan in this palette, so I don't know. But anyways, they're like a good, just solid shimmer formula that's like not super sparkly, but it is metallic. So I just think it's a nice opaque shimmer, I think is the word I'm looking for. So I really like that. I don't feel like a lot of palettes or brands that I'm like attracted to buying palettes from right now have that. So I really enjoy the palettes that do have that. Next up is a new palette. This is the Natasha Denona Xenon palette. I, again, don't think my video with this is up. I was trying to do 3 looks with this palette, so you'll see that soon. I've just been overwhelmed with how much makeup has come in. But I like this palette. I think it's really nice. It is like it's a grayscale palette. So it's essentially a monochromatic palette, basically, right? It's a grayscale palette. So I could see why people are like, what is that? But I kind of like it. Like I am having fun with it so far. I've only done 2 of my 3 looks, but I thought they were fun. I thought they looked nice. I do really like cool tones on me, so that could be part of it. But I enjoy that. I think if you have her other midis and you like to pop out and rearrange shades, even if this is grayscale, I think this will pair really nicely with a lot of the stuff she already has. So yeah. Next up is another new palette. This is the Melt Cosmetics Christmas Town palette. This one is so much higher than its Halloween Town counterpart because I feel like these shimmers are a little bit better. Like this shade, Sugar Plum Visions and Mistletoe and Experiments, like blew my mind. Like they were such a nice shimmer formula compared to what I'm used to from Melt. So I thought that was like a pleasant surprise. And I really do like this color story. I think the 2 palettes combined will pair really nicely together, but yeah, I liked this one a little bit better. Next up, we have Lunar Beauty Miss Siren Sunset. Listen, I think I'm gonna use this palette more and it's gonna end up being ranked higher because I already really like it, but I've only used it the one time. But and that video will probably be up after this one too. I'm like putting up all my videos so late. Anyways, this palette though, it's so pretty. I did a really colorful look, but I think if I get to play with these neutrals, as I am a neutral in my neutral era, I think I will have a really fun time with this one. I really like it. I think it's super nice. I had fun with the mattes, fun with the shimmers. Really, really liked this one a lot. The packaging is gorgeous too. Like, what's not to like? Next up is another new palette. It's the Wheel of Fortune and Laura Geller collab. Listen, I was having a very bad day, and I was watching Teresa Is Dead's new makeup releases where she talked about, I hadn't even seen this. I didn't know this existed until she talked about it in her video. And she was like, I'm getting it. And I was like, you know what, Teresa? I'm getting it too. Like, I want it too. You guys, there is something about this palette. Like, because I also watched her review on it. I did film a look. This will be in a video coming soon where I think I'm just going to put like 4 random looks together and put a video up. This one's going to be in that just because I'm so late to the game on this. And then I think I might work in like another palette or 2 or if any of these palettes, if you want to see more looks, let me know and I can work those into this as well. But anywho, this palette, I wanted a quick and easy look for work. I used this palette and I was blown away. Like, I was blown away. It was so good. And my mom has a Laura Geller eyeshadow palette that she I think told me once that she uses like pretty frequently. And I was like, I've never tried it. This is good. I was shocked. Anyways, I also think the like packaging is cute, like the outside of it. I will say that it's a cardboard, but it feels kind of like, I don't want to say sharp, but it doesn't quite feel finished around the edges like some of my nicer cardboard packaging. But also the price on this compared to like some indie brand prices I have is not bad, especially given that they collabed with Wheel of Fortune. So I really like that. I really like that palette. If there was like a dark horse for like favorite palette of the year, it might be this palette. I'm traveling soon for work. I might bring this palette with me, if I'm being totally honest. I might. I really like it. Next up is another new palette. This is the recently de-influenced palette from BellaBeauteBar. I really like this one. I've only used it the one time though, so I don't feel comfortable putting it as a holy grail favorite, but I really, really liked how it performed from like a swatch standpoint and my first impressions of it. So I did want to put it here. This screenshot shade is one of my favorite shadows in my collection, and I don't think I have anything similar to it. So I am really excited to play around with this a bit more and get a better feel for the palette. I really like this color story. Yeah. Anyways, that's where I'm at with it. I just need to play with it more. So big fan of that one so far. Basic Witch from BellaBeauteBar is up next, and it's literally the exact same story as Recently De-Influenced. I've used it once. Loved the look that I had. The only difference between the two is I liked this look slightly better than the other one. But same thing, I want to play around with this more. I want to play with these two palettes combined. I think they will make a gorgeous look together because this one goes a little bit deeper, this one's a little bit lighter. I think they'll be really good. But yeah, I am a big fan of both of those so far. Need to play with them more. Next up is another new palette. This is the Wicked Widow Beauty Graveyard Smash palette. This is what the inside of it looks like. I'm holding it sideways, but I have never tried Wicked Widow Beauty until this moment. I really liked this. Like, I thought the shimmers were really nice. The mattes were really nice. The reason I ranked it ahead of the BellaBeauteBar palettes is because even though like this doesn't have like multi-chrome shimmers like those do, I'm kind of like enjoying having like opaque sparkly shimmers that don't shift. Like they're just a normal shimmer. Like I really liked that. And I also think for the price, I felt like this was really good quality. So this one might be like higher because it like sort of surprised me, whereas BellaBeauteBar kind of like, I expect solid, you know, stuff from them. But I will be curious to see how things kind of shake out over time. But I really like this. Also, I have to admit, I am a huge, what I think is called, like, I've seen somebody call it, a romantic horror fan. And Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, Dracula, The Mummy, all those old school horror movies are considered like romantic horror movies. So I love this. This packaging spoke to me. So I particularly like that. Next up, we have the Adept Cosmetics Sumerian Sunset palette. I don't think this was new. It's new-ish, but I don't think it was new for the month of October. I have had creasing issues with this palette, which is sad, but only, what was it? I think it was the shade Pac-Led or USS Defiant. I can't remember. It was one or two shades that creased on me. The rest have performed okay. The matte color story I like, and the shimmers I think are beautiful. I think the whole palette color story is really nice. I don't know why I can't, okay. This is higher than most palettes because it's based on Star Trek, and I am a big Star Trek fan. So that's partially what's carrying it. But also I really like this, and I think part of me is like scared to put this up higher because I don't want to be like, yeah, I really just like it because it's from Star Trek. But I think part of it is that I don't really like red orangey tones in eyeshadow, and this has a lot of that. I get it for what they're doing for the drink from Star Trek, so I'm not criticizing the color story. It's just like a personal preference thing. It's never gonna quite be something that I'm like, oh yeah, I can't live without this. Now, might this hit a holy grail status at some point because it's my only Star Trek themed palette? Possibly. I don't know. We're not quite there yet. Next up is the Danessa Myricks Beauty Lightwork Volume 5 palette. I really like this palette, and I want to play with this more now that I've, been trying to do like more like subtle shimmer looks with like other shimmers kind of stacked on top of it. I think this palette will work really well for that, especially with these suede shimmer formulas down here that are not meant to be as like sparkly, shifty, special. But I think that will be fun. I also want to use this flaky shade Centered. I haven't used that yet, but anyways, I really enjoyed this palette. I thought it was gorgeous. All the looks I did, I enjoyed. I like the different formulas. It didn't quite, like, there is an element to being slightly disappointed because Lightwork Volume 4 is one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes of all time. I know that's controversial. Some people don't like it, whatever. I really liked it. And this didn't quite hit like Lightwork Volume 4 did for me personally, because I feel like Lightwork Volume 4 gave me so many things that were different. And this gave me some things that are different, but not quite as different. But I get why she didn't do the formulas that people didn't like again, because people didn't like them. So a lot of people didn't. And it was in the minority, I think. But anyways, that was it for that category. So let's talk about the last 5 palettes that make up my Holy Grail favorites for this month. Okay, so you will find that not a single one of these are new. Oh, no. No. Whew. All right. None of my top 5 palettes are new. So that doesn't mean that none of the new palettes were good. Typically, I'll be like, oh, look at that. I didn't need to buy any of the new palettes. I literally, most of those new palettes that I was just talking about, I'm like, I mean, I've only used them once or twice, so I don't really know. But I want to play with them more and then see how they shake out. So this is more of a, I couldn't put them in a Holy Grail favorites because I literally only used them 1 to 3 times, and that was it. Lightwork Volume 5 and what was the other one? Harvest Moon are the only 2 palettes that I used 3 times. Everything else I used once. That's it. So I feel like I need to play around with them more before I can like actually put them as Holy Grail favorites. Hope that makes sense. Anyways, first up, we have the Natasha Denona Bronze palette. I use this palette for my Halloween makeup look. This is an oldie but a goodie. I know this is another palette that leans very monochromatic color story for Natasha, but I enjoy the crap out of this palette. I really like it. I think it's gorgeous. It's one of my favorite palettes to pull out in the summertime. Did I pull it out this summer? I feel like I did at least once. Yeah, I did. I brought it to Vegas with me. I really enjoy this palette. I think the mattes work really nicely. I like the shimmers. I do like the shimmers, but I'll be honest, I tend to pair this palette with like single shadows and other things, or like my Adept shadows. Like I use more of the mattes than the shimmers in this palette, but I do really like them. But I just think this is an oldie but a goodie. It's a good standby. I would absolutely repurchase this palette if I lost it because I really like it. So I would want to have it. I think it's great to have in my collection. If I'm doing somebody else's makeup, I feel like it's a good, not that I do it professionally, just like friends, family, whatever. I think it's a good one to have. Next up, I have the BellaBeauteBar Best Mattes palette. This was in collaboration with Ellie Starr and Brittany Huffman. She's a big kahuna, but as I continue to reach for this palette and pull in shades whenever I need something, like this palette's got it all. So if I'm like, ooh, I don't have a light enough like blue, boom, there we go. I don't have light enough pink, purple, whatever. Like I just feel like I want a neon yellow. Like I have what I need in this palette whenever I'm trying to create a look. I'm still trying to work my way through using every shade in this palette. And once I get to that point, I'm going to rearrange this in a way that makes a little bit more sense to my brain. But currently, I'm working my way through this one, and I enjoy it. I really like that one a lot. Next up, we have the Huda Beauty Naughty Nude palette. I really like this palette. I really like the tones of this. Every time I reach for this palette and do a look, I'm like, man, that looks good. I held out on getting this palette. I actually didn't buy it when it first launched because I was really weirded out by this shade down here, but I finally tried this shade and it does nothing. So I don't know why it's in there, but the rest of the palette, I just held out not really wanting to get it. And then I got it for, I think, Christmas last year when, one of my family members bought me the Huda Beauty, I think the Empowered palette, and I already had it, or somebody else got me this one. I can't remember. But anyways, long story short, I got this for Christmas last year. And I just keep coming back to it. I just think it's really pretty, and I'm kind of kicking myself that I didn't get it when it first launched. But I think it's a really pretty color story. I like these tones on me. Yeah, I think it's nice. Next up is the Danessa Myricks Groundwork palette. I adore this palette. I think I said in my review video of this palette, like the big pans for the powder or the cream to powder are like a little too small to use as like face product, because you can like, your brush will dip into another pan because they're close together. But I think I mentioned in my video, if you pop it out, you can still get it. Or if you want to use like a powder shade, like it's just a little inconvenient. That's what I said in my review. I'm going to be honest with you all. I ran out of my brow pencil, and Ulta Beauty does not want me to purchase anything off of their website or their app. I'm not going to get into it here, but just know the struggle is real. They will not let me purchase anything. I don't know why. It's like an error, and every time I talk to them, they're like, we don't know. Anyways, so anywho, ran out of my brow products. I don't live near a Sephora. The closest place to me is an Ulta, but I just didn't feel like leaving my house. So I used this palette for my brows for like a whole week until I was ready to like go to the store finally. And I really liked it. I liked using it as a brow product. I was able to find like a color combination. I want to say it was Chiseled and Sculpted, these two up here, that matched my brow hair pretty well. And then I find when I don't want to do like an actual cream contour stone, I've been reaching for to get that actual cool tone contour without any warmth. So yeah, I've literally just been popping them out and like like dipping my brush as I hold it. Like I'll show you. Let me. Is this something that I would expect everybody to be comfortable like doing every day? No, probably not. But I literally just hold it and just like dip my brush in it, and then that's it. And then I don't make a mess, and then I just pop it back in. So anyways, I just wanted to mention that because I said it was inconvenient, but honestly, I've been doing it for like a month now. So I use this palette all the time, not necessarily on my eyes, but like between my brows, my eyes, my face. I couldn't even tell you how many times I used it because I didn't keep track when I used it for like face and not just eyes, but I used it a whole lot. Okay, last up is the Ismaya Beauty Industrial 2.0. I think this was my #1 last year. Was this new to me last month? Not last year, last month. Jeez. So I think I got Industrial 2.0 in August, but I don't know if I put it as #1 in August. I want to say it was #1 in September though. I could be wrong on that. But anyways, here's the inside of this palette. I adore this palette. Shout out to my friend Daria for convincing me to buy it. Like I really like this palette. There is something so nice about these shimmers, and they just layer on each other so nicely. So yeah, I'm not gonna like belabor that one because I feel like I talked about it last month, but I really enjoyed that palette. It's expensive for sure. That's the most expensive eyeshadow palette I've ever bought. I have other eyeshadow palettes that retail for a higher amount, but I always have like a gift card or some sort of oh no. But I always have a gift card or some sort of discount code or something. I think I used like a 20% discount code like for signing up to get that one. But yeah, I really like that one. I do. It's pretty. So that was it. That was everything. That was a lot of information. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful if there's any of these palettes that you were debating on. I feel bad if you're debating on any of the new ones because I don't think my minimal contact with them is really that helpful, but I do plan to try and use them more, and would be curious if any of you have like certain palettes that I ranked today that you want to see more of. I can work them into like a makeup diary video a la my friend Annette from Annette's Makeup Corner. I'll make sure to tag her down below too. I mentioned Alicia and I mentioned her, and I'll make sure both their channels are tagged down below just so you can check them out if you're interested. But those are two of my favorite YouTube channels to watch just because I feel I love that Annette, like they both kind of push me out of my comfort zone. Like Alicia does like very, I don't know what word I want to look for. Like classic, I feel like classic, like a classically beautiful look. Like you look at what she does and you're like, yes, okay, that's pretty. Like that would look pretty on pretty much everybody, you know? Like, so I feel like she does these really pretty like classical looks. And then Annette, on the other hand, does these like really creative looks that you're like, I don't think I would have ever thought to pair those colors together, or I would have never done a graphic liner like that with that look. But she does it, and both of them make me want to broaden my horizons, which is what I look for in content. So anywho, let me know if there's any palettes you want to see more looks with in the comments down below. Let me know what your favorite palette was for the month of October, which one you reached for the most. Like I said, for me, that was Lightwork 5 and Harvest Moon, because I did 3 looks videos with those. That was it. The rest of them, I did not have time. But anyways, I will see you all next time. Bye.